What's up, guys? It is Corey from SuperKamiGuru9000, and it's time to drop anchor for my review of One Piece episode 587. Sorry this review came out so late, guys. I sort of got lost on the road of life, and you know how that is. But I'm finally glad I got a chance to see this episode because it was really fun, and it was giving us what we've all been wanting to see for the longest time because they've been building it up over the course of the last couple weeks. That is Smoker versus Trafalgar Law, and it definitely didn't disappoint. It was a really badass fight to watch, but before I even jump into that, let's just talk about some of the other stuff that took place within this episode. First and foremost, Luffy and his team are still trying to make their way across the landscape. They are actually riding on Brownbeard, who they call Alligator-san, which is really funny because obviously the lower half of his body has been switched out, and it does kind of look like a multi-legged alligator sort of just walking all over the place. Pretty damn funny. The other members of the Straw Hats are pretty much doing what we've seen them do over the course of the last couple episodes too, which is a lot of them have switched bodies, namely Nami, Frankie, Chopper, and Sanji, and they're still trying to figure out what the hell to do. They're running all over the mountains with all of these kids, and they finally start to realize maybe this is a bad idea because we could all freeze to death out here. But at least Sanji is okay because he gets to fondle Nami's breasts. The other part of the episode I thought was pretty interesting was the introduction of some new people, as well as getting to see Caesar Clown. Caesar Clown is essentially the main villain of this arc, and I want to say this first and foremost, I love his voice actor, and he is kind of famous amongst Japanese voice actors. His name is Ryusei Nakao, and he's actually voiced some very famous Shonen Jump characters, such as Frieza from Dragon Ball Z, and even Mayuri Koratsuchi from Bleach. He loves voicing really androgynous, creepy characters. It's just perfect. There's also Monet, who is this really creepy harpy woman, and obviously they're still hinting at some bigger things to come. They are going to try and report to their benefactor, Joker. So let's talk about Law versus Smoker. At the end of last week's episode, we saw Tashigi was cut down. She was completely cut in half, and it really wasn't that much of a to-be-continued screen because we all knew she was going to survive, and she does in fact survive. But she does try to fight back a little bit, being that she's just a torso. She's really trying to put this guy down, but it's just not going to work, and Law is essentially saying, you don't have the right to do this right now. You're not strong enough to decide how you're going to die. See ya! Smoker finally gets involved in the fight, and what goes on for the rest of the episode is just pure awesomeness. The animation here is all over the place and really fun. I've always really loved the way that they have done Smoker's powers. You know, Logia characters are all kind of similar in a sense that they're like these elemental type characters and they can sort of slip around things and go through things, but I've always loved the way they've done Smoker, how he's able to basically attack you from one angle and have another part of his body attack you from another, and that happens a lot here. There's this point where he choke slams Law, which is really cool, but eventually Law is able to overcome this. He starts summoning all of these giant rocks from the ground, which Smoker is able to get away from. That is until the last one. And then the last part of this episode, which was really cool, Law is able to separate Smoker's heart directly from his body and literally hold it in his hands, and you can see here Smoker's pretty much done at this point. He kind of has to do what Law says. So overall, this was a badass episode. It's always going to be remembered, obviously, for the Law and Smoker stuff, but we had a few new characters who were introduced in this episode, and there was a little bit of comedy sprinkled in there as well, so pretty typical One Piece episode. A few laughs, some badass action, some new stuff, and it's moving the story along oh so slightly. So for me personally, this episode is a 9 out of 10. It's not exactly a perfect episode. There are a few animation flaws. So this week's episode for me is a 9 out of 10. But how did you guys feel about it? You can let me know with your comments below. Remember guys, as always, if you like this video, make sure and give it a thumbs up. It really helps them out a lot. That concludes this review today. SuperKamiGuru9000 out.